up, YouTube? Joe, aka BeatyMoney here from New York City. Wanted to give you guys my first vlog ever. Just talking about some things. I know I've been putting up some beats recently, some trombone playing stuff recently, and I will definitely be vlogging about that stuff, depending on how the channel grows and whatnot. But I also want to introduce you guys to a different side of myself, which is my fitness side, which is something that I'm very passionate about too, as well as making good beats and playing the trombone. So there's a lot that goes into that. I often get asked questions about fitness and how to put on muscle, how to lose fat, by other musicians that I'm either playing gigs with or artists that I'm producing. So I wanted to give you guys some information if you guys want to start on this journey yourself. I'm not going to go too much into my history just in my first video. It's kind of a long story how I started lifting, but I started lifting when I was 29, so I was a little bit older. I was 120 pounds around that time, and now I weigh 200 pounds. I'm 5'6", 200 pounds either, and I've put my years into lifting. So I do have some experience, and I'm also certified as a personal trainer too, so I do train artists that I work with, or artists maybe that I don't necessarily, or maybe it's somebody who wants to get ready for a photo shoot or a video shoot. So for this first vlog, I want to just start off like talking about nutrition, because that's where it starts. You know, there's training, there's fitness, and there's sleep. Those are like the three aspects of changing your body composition. So I want to do this from a musician's perspective, because while I would love to be a pro bodybuilder, number one, I don't really have the genetics to be a pro bodybuilder. I'll be real. Number two, my focus is music, so I would rather spend my time in the studio or practicing my trombone more so than doing cardio twice a day or whatever. But it doesn't mean that I can't try to be the best lifter that I possibly can be the strongest that I can be the leanest that I can be, put on as much muscle as I possibly can. So I'm always trying to better my physique, even though maybe I don't want to be a pro bodybuilder. And there's a lot of things that you can do that can contribute to being healthier. If you do want to lose weight, if you do want to put on muscle, first thing you have to do outside of getting a gym membership and start lifting regularly is focus on your nutrition, because reality is you can be in the gym all day long. If you eat like garbage, you're gonna have a garbage body. If you had a Porsche, would you put crappy, fuel in that thing? No, you want to put the best fuel inside of that car. You know what I'm saying? You want to take care of your car, because health is a gift. You don't want to get to a place where, I'm going to worry about this later. I'm worried about this later. Next thing you know, a doctor's telling you what to do. Next thing you know, a doctor's telling you got to take insulin shots. And some musicians be like, I'm so into the music, man. I don't got time to be, worrying about lifting weights, or you don't have to lift, but I don't got to worry about my health. And then, problems happen. If you ignore it, it's part of being a human being. We got to take care of these vessels. You know what I'm saying? So first thing first, nutrition. All right, let me just start off this by saying there's things that you can do. Don't try to attack everything at once when you start your fitness journey, when you start getting into it. I would say start cleaning up your diet. And I'm not saying like eat like super clean like a bodybuilder and have your Tupperware with your sweet potato and your rice and whatnot. Just start off simple. Attack one thing in your diet that you want to change. Maybe it's drinking sugary drinks. Processed sugars are terrible for your body. And if you can eliminate that from your diet, man, that's a big step inside the right direction. You know what I'm saying? So just like focus on one thing. Maybe after that, you focus on taking out carbohydrates that maybe aren't so good for you. Maybe focus on taking out bread and focus on eating things like brown rice, even white rice or sweet potato. Focus on eating quality carbohydrates. And this kind of brings me into my next point. Once you start getting that going, like cleaning things out of your diet, like fast food and processed foods and junk foods, once you get that out, then you can start focusing on something called macronutrients. And this is kind of the big theme for the video that I want to put up today, is like talking about macronutrients. Once I started tracking my macros, it opened up the doors for a lot of different avenues that I could go down. Whether it's you want to be a vegetarian, you want to be a vegan, you want to be a pescatarian. If you learn how to count your macros, it gives you the ability to do those things and put on muscle at the same time. You don't have to eat meat. While I do consume meat, you don't have to do that to put on quality muscle. If you want to be a vegetarian, you can put on quality muscle doing that, but you have to track your macros on some level. Some people be like, I'm going to try to lose weight, so I stop eating meat. Well, if you stop, just because you take that out of your diet doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. If you don't know exactly what macronutrients you're consuming in a day, you're going to have a hard time losing body fat. You could take the meat out, and if you're eating vegetarian, you could be hammering carbohydrates all day long, eating rice and potatoes. and that's going to cause you to get fat too. So that's kind of my thing. Is first thing is start to understand the concept of macros. What are macronutrients? There's 3 of them. The 3 macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And as you get deeper into the rabbit hole of fitness, you're going to find that knowing those numbers are going to be pretty important. Because sometimes people come to me be like, yo man, how many calories do you eat in a day? And I'd be like, I don't really know, I can figure it out through macronutrients, but I'm not thinking about calories, I'm thinking about macros. So we said proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, right? So when I'm looking at my macronutrient intake, I'm thinking in terms of how many grams of protein I eat per day, how many grams of carbohydrates I eat per day, and how many grams of fat I consume in a day, right? So 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate equals 4 calories. And 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. That's how you get your caloric intake for the day. We all have a caloric maintenance level, which is a level of calories that we burn in our day. Now, if you eat above that level, you're gonna get fat. Now, if my whole diet is comprised of calories from ice cream, my body's going to still reflect that. Even if I balance my macros and I eat the same calories number wise, it's still going to affect my physique. All right, so protein. Let's say I'm a 200-pound man. Myself personally, I try to shoot for 200 grams of protein a day. Protein is a macronutrient that's involved in building muscle. Putting on size. I think that's kind of the first macro that you kind of want to focus on when you start getting into this, because it's just like I was saying earlier about like cutting out things out of your diet. Attack 1 macro at a time. So because most people generally don't consume enough protein. If I say that I consume 200 grams of protein a day, a lot of people don't understand what that looks like food wise. Okay, so protein. 200 grams of protein a day. Now, when it comes to my carbohydrates, I personally prefer to have my carbs moderate. If I put them too high, then I get fluffy, and I don't want to look fluffy. I want to look nice, you know what I'm saying? So I like to do, let's say I'm eating 200 grams of protein, maybe I'll shoot for 300 grams of carbohydrates in my day. And then to keep it simple, fats, if you're going higher up on your carbohydrates, then you want to keep your fat grams lower, okay? Some people prefer to have them pretty low. Carbohydrates are used for energy, right? And fats are also used for energy too, but fats also play an important role inside of micronutrient absorption, nutrient intake, and they also play a role in hormonal function too. So you don't want to totally take fats out of your diet. You might feel pretty awful. On the other hand, you could take carbohydrates totally out of your diet and raise up your fats, which that's called ketogenic diet. And I'm not going to go too much into different styles of dieting for this purpose, but we're just going to focus on macros and kind of understand the concept of macronutrients. So we'll say 50 grams of fat to keep it easy. So 200 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbohydrates, 50 grams of fat. All right, calorie-wise, 200 times 4 is 800. 300 times 4 is 1200, and 50 times 9 is 450. So total, if I eat those macros within my day, I would get a total consumption of 2,450 calories throughout my day, which that's not too bad for me personally. I could probably go a little bit higher on the carbohydrates on heavy, intense days. And again, like usually with macros, I'll focus on my protein and I'll adjust my carbohydrates day to day depending on my metabolic output or how much I train in the gym. Perhaps on days that I don't train so much, or days I don't train, I might not eat as much, and fats too, you want to keep them healthy. Like you want to try to avoid fats from like canola oil and things like that. So that's kind of what it would look like. Now, there's a style of eating called If It Fits Your Macronutrients, which I think is pretty good for most people who aren't trying to step on a body. Now, if I was going to say, oh, I'm going to compete in this bodybuilding show, then I have to lock my diet in. I have to hit my macros. But not only do I have to hit my macros, I would want to be sure that it's really pretty clean. Like I'm not eating any junk foods. But let's say, for example, I go to McDonald's and I get a Big Mac meal. I'm not going to drink the soda because really, like, cut sugar drinks out of your diet. Like, there's no place for them. They are carbohydrate machines. Like, you could literally have 45 grams of sugar in one serving of Pepsi, which is like 8 ounces or 12. I don't quote me on that. But one bottle would eat up almost you could in consumption of sugar drinks, I could eat up 1/3 of all my carbohydrates for the day. So you want to be eating your food. You don't want to be like, you don't want to be like drinking all your food. I do drink protein shakes, but outside of that, I try to eat as much whole foods as I can. Whole, unprocessed foods is going to be your best bet if you're looking to change your physique, right? Let's go back to that meal, right? So let's say that I'm going to eat McDonald's, and that's going to have like 50 grams of protein. And I'd be a nice McDonald's right here. McDonald's probably didn't have that much protein, but let's say 50 grams of protein just to be on the nice side of it. Maybe we could get possibly 80 to 100 grams, but for the sake of illustration, let's say 100 grams of carbohydrates out of the bread, out of the fries, all that stuff. And then 50 grams of fat, which I don't think is unreasonable in a McDonald's meal, right? So right there, let's say I'm doing, if it fits my macros, I know that I'm eating 200 grams of protein in a day. I know I'm eating 300 grams of carbohydrates and 50 grams of fat. So I would subtract those numbers from my daily total. I'd take out the 50 grams, that leaves me with 150 grams of protein. I would take out the 100 grams of carbohydrates, that leaves me 200 grams of carbohydrates, and I have no more fats left to eat in my diet for that day. Now, I would probably after that consume like something like really simple, like chicken breast and leafy greens, because leafy green carbohydrates aren't gonna break down in your body the same way as like rice or something like that, which will convert into glycogen eventually. Leafy greens, which everybody, I can get lazy with my vegetable intake for sure. I've gone through periods where it's like I'll eat 6 meals in a day, and I'll just be eating rice and chicken, rice and chicken, rice and chicken, or beef and rice. So it's a matter of just like balancing these. Once you figure out the balance, and it's gonna always change too, depending on your goals. Like if you want to lose fat, I wouldn't recommend you guys to do extreme dieting. Don't go from like not eating anything to eating all of a sudden this, like totally clean. Because the reason why I think If It Fits Your Macros is somewhat of a good plan of attack is because once you start eating If It Fits Your Macros, you can still get away with putting some food you enjoy. If you restrict yourself a lot, it's not often sustainable for a lot of us. You want to have a diet that is sustainable for you, that you can enjoy food every once in a while, that you like to have. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're trying to get dumb shredded and be on a bodybuilding stage, I don't see the benefits in totally locking down your diet, unless it's something that you really want to do and you just want to test yourself. But you have to be careful not to binge eat after you get off of that particular diet, right? So my recommendation is to start learning your macros. Pull out the trash food from your diet, but if you do indulge, like think about it in terms of macronutrients, especially musicians. If you're on the road and you're at a restaurant and your food options are limited, you think about it in terms, look at the food. Sometimes a lot of these restaurants will have nutrition facts in there, so you can see foods that are high in carbohydrates, you can see meals that are maybe high in fat. Sometimes you're going to take the L, you know what I mean? Like if I'm on the road and let's say I'm in Japan and I'm inside this dope restaurant and they're giving me like the best stuff there, I'm going to indulge because, life is also about experiences too. Don't let your experiences get in the way of your goals. That's kind of like the balance, right? We want to get to our goals physique wise, but we also want to enjoy it as well. So oftentimes if I'm in the city, right, and I'm always in the studio, I'm working, I try to eat super clean because every once in a while life comes and you're going to be on the road and you're going to be able to cook maybe right when you want to. So you want to be able to kind of put that into your bank. So where like I went 3 months eating really good, and now I'm going to take a week and I might take some L's. But it's all good because I'm going to come right back and get right back on track. You know what I mean? So be sure that you start counting your macronutrients, pull those junk foods out of your diet, and then, and that in conjunction with a lifting regimen is going to work wonders for you, you know what I mean? And don't be one of these people too. I talk about the people that like go from doing nothing to all of a sudden eating super clean and failing. Don't be this other person that's, let's say you're like a 130-pound guy, right? And you go on bodybuilding.com and you see like a Phil Heath diet or a Kaya Green diet or Bradley Martin diet, and it's probably not even like what they really eat. But you go ahead and you eat it. You decide you're gonna try to eat this way that they eat supposedly, which isn't probably the truth. And you might be 130 pounds. They might say eat 300 grams of protein a day. Now, don't do that. You want to introduce things to your body slowly. If you've never counted macros and you don't know how much protein you're eating per day, then you need to increase your protein. Maybe if you're 130 pounds, shoot to hit like 100 to 100 your body weight, 100 pounds, 100 grams to 130 grams of protein inside your diet. Then once you start seeing physique changes, eventually you're gonna start plateauing at some point. Then you start increasing things slowly. Don't just go from eating no protein to eating 300 grams in a day. First off, your body's not gonna know what to do because you're overloading with protein and it's not used to it, right? You're probably just gonna poop a lot of it out and get terrible protein farts. That's just gonna be like the reality. But you know, stay focused and get on to an eating regimen, eating schedule. You know, that helps me a lot too. Scheduling my eating, watching the clock. If I'm in the studio, if I'm gonna know I'm gonna have a full day in the studio, I'm gonna prepare my meals, bring them with me. And when I'm working, you know, I keep an eye on the clock, pull my food out every couple hours, eat it up, you know, and keep it moving, and try to hit my goals. So I'm gonna be talking a lot about fitness on this channel. I'll put some lifting videos up, talk about hypertrophy and how to build muscle and things like that. You know, just because I want to not just help people with music, but I want to help people with their bodies, because I get approached by a lot of artists about it, you know, which, you know, thank you guys for questions. I always love helping people, especially when it comes towards getting better at anything. So please comment down below, subscribe. I'm going to be putting up multiple videos on fitness, on lifting, music, beats, trombone. So thank you so much for listening. Follow me on Instagram, BeatyMoney. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on SoundCloud. Follow me on Facebook. Appreciate everybody. Please stay tuned. I got a lot more content coming, and I will talk to you guys later.